Yeah, we're here with Fixing the Fourth Wall.
Welcome back to another episode of Fixing the Fourth Wall, where we pick the topics we find most interesting in pop culture, politics, religion. Whatever you're thinking about, we may be thinking about it too. I'm your host, Jesse Fetter.
Hold my beer. And I'm Al Mullane. Thank you.
And for today's topic, we're going to be talking about reliving the golden years of animation, cartoons, what we think, in our personal opinion, the 90s. And we're going to be mainly focusing on, for today, kind of Nickelodeon.
This is an emergency broadcast transmission. This is not a test.
Today's part one of our segment, because there's a lot of talking we can really do on this topic.
There's going to be multiple part series. Come on, if you grew up in the 90s, you know about the shows. And I'm sorry for the new generation people. Outside of a few shows,
These shows suck ass. They're just terrible. Like, I don't know what it is. You know, for us, late 80s to early 90s babies that grew up through the 90s. I mean, the golden era, we call it the golden era of Nickelodeon for a reason. You had Rugrats,
Hey Arnold.
Real Monsters,
Rocket Power.
Keenan and Kel.
That was great.
I love that.
I love the 90s like Kel loves orange soda.
All that.
Well, I'm trying to think of another big one. It's on the tip of my tongue, too.
Doug.
Yes, there we go.
Doug Funny.
Yo, Dale. Meet my new friend, Doug.
Hello, Dale.
Hiya, big nose.
I mean, you had Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That's actually one of the first. Think of the people who are into that show on FX called. Fuck, can we run it back?
Goosebumps?
No,
Goosebumps was good, by the way.
Goosebumps was good.
90s.
That's another 90s experiment. There's a lot of like horror shows, but Are You Afraid of the Dark pretty much set the table for those shows because surprisingly, even for adults, there are some shows that were extremely pretty scary. Even there's one episode about a vampire, and that shit haunted me until I was like a good 14.
Oh, dude, I couldn't go to sleep. Like, honestly, I was so afraid of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I loved it. But just, for a kid, obviously I was like 5 or 6 growing up. I didn't go to sleep. And I slept with my parents. Slept with my grandmother. Because that's for another story. But yeah, I couldn't go to sleep alone, at least. But other great shows, as we know, there's Wild Thornberrys.
Oh, yeah.
Never tell anyone my secret, because if you do,
Yeah.
you'll turn into a baboon.
They had a crossover with Rugrats, didn't they? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. Rugrats does some good movies, too, that came out in the 90s.
Yes.
I mean, SpongeBob SquarePants, which
It started in 1999, I think, right? Right at the end.
right at the tail end, but I'd still consider that.
I mean,
90s.
it's definitely one of those shows that still impacts us today. I mean, I think SpongeBob just finally fucking ended.
It really, I mean, some shows go a little too long. I think that's one of them.
Yeah.
But, hey.
I think it didn't go too long. I think we lost interest, but then the new kids got interested in it too. So, yeah, it's one of those ongoing things where they just it's one of those shows where new fans get interested, old fans move on.
I agree with that.
Like Sesame Street. I don't still watch Sesame Street, but it still is impactful because of the kids that watch it now.
Oh, that was good, and I grew up with Barney too. But I mean, guys, you have such phenomenal shows, but what really stood out about these shows, and a lot of them, where the moral of the story at the very end of each episode, the type of underlying themes, they always had a message, about, that we still resonates with us, for kids that were growing up, ways to teach them, about honesty, about a certain type of harmony,
Friendship.
Unity. I mean, you had all these types of very important values that they really, preach to us. And in a lot of the shows today, it just kind of,
I feel like it gets lost in the shuffle, man.
it gets random goofiness. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all enjoy our, goofiness too.
Thanks for having us, Sammy. I love your seashell toilet. Very comfortable.
That's not a toilet, that's a sink.
Well, don't go in there. Shotgun, Arnold.
There are always some episodes of like Rugrats that got goofy, but at the end of the day, you always had, at every episode, you always had something that the kids learned about from their experiences. And it's not just that, like in Doug too. Doug used to get, bullied by Roger.
And friend zone.
He got very hard friend zoned by Patty. But like what I liked about Doug is, there was an episode where he and Skeeter got into an argument.
I was just thinking about that one.
Great minds think alike. The other part of the saying though is fools never differ. But let's go with great minds think alike.
Shut your bitch ass up!
But in that episode, they were childish in, throwing tantrums when they saw each other and really wanted to try to ignore each other. But they really came to, at the end of the conclusion of the episode, they resolved their differences and they saw that it's better to, not only take each other's opinions or differences of opinions into account, but really to respect what each other was saying and also those differences. And it's better to, just keep it, friendly.
I think one of the things I loved about Hey Arnold was diversity. I mean, now that I'm an adult, it wasn't something I picked up on as a kid, but they had such a diverse cast of characters. I mean, it was the Polish, the Jewish community, Gerald was black
community.
and it just showed different elements and levels to just diversity of characters. Like Helga Pataki, as much as she was probably the queen bitch, you could tell that she was not only intelligent, smart, but she was very caring.
Also, add in the Asian community, her best friend was Phoebe. You always had that as well. Those little underlying themes we were taught as kids helped our generation to be one of the first that's essentially was colorblind. Arnold, like Alan was saying, Hey Arnold had so much in diversity that we just started getting used to those characters.
And age diversity. I mean, we had the kids, the parents, the grandparents, all living and telling their stories. And even though they were different, and obviously Grandpa always talked about back in my day.
I mean, and all the people within, Arnold's, big townhouse, or whatever building you want to call that, where they lived, all the different people within the building. They were all people from all sorts of paths, and Arnold's learning how to it wasn't about tolerating them, it was about truly, he embraced them. They were like his extended family. No matter how different they were, he appreciated those differences, which really helped shape his outlook. And, it further extended. He didn't see really, you could tell within the actual show, the underlying theme was really pushing a type of, a unity, a type of, not like we said diversity, but, there's a difference between tolerating and really being compassionate. A lot of the characters were very compassionate and they didn't really see color or differences. They used to bully each other because of petty differences, but not with like racial or age or religious, not on any of those grounds.
And they didn't really, the only issue that I could say that they really tackled, because I guess it wasn't a prominent issue at the time, was homophobia. But there was just, at that, you have to give the 90s credit. They did as much as they could for the time. Right. I think there's a lot of more shows now that tackle that particular issue. I mean, like I mentioned in previous episodes, Avatar: The Last Airbender and
Yeah.
Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
It's literally the first show to have an openly queer character, and it just kind of went through. The kids didn't even notice. Like when I brought it up to the kids that I teach at school, no waves.
It just doesn't bother them. We also had other great shows such as Pete and Pete,
Oh yes.
Angry Beavers,
Oh
Kablam.
man.
Crud. Not again.
Do not adjust your set.
Let me.
Sometimes you just kind of have to jiggle it a little bit.
Was really Odd Parents that time, or is it towards the tail end?
That was early thousands.
Oh,
that
okay.
was like early thousands, but still, that even the early thousands guys with Nickelodeon wasn't bad.
No.
It got to like around 2005, 2006 where there was a significant drop off. You know, you had other live shows in like the late 90s, early thousands, like Amanda Bynes' show, the Amanda Bynes show.
Whatever happened to that girl?
Woo! That's for another episode. We will talk about that and the Lindsay Lohans of the world, but
Woo, man, those child actors that just go from like
way
zero
off.
and then they crash.
Oh God, I was, yeah, man. But what was your favorite show personally?
I would have to say probably Rugrats, man.
He didn't die! He's alive, I tell you! Alive, alive, alive!
Yeah.
I think the tone of it was great. The way that there's so many underlying themes that as an adult you pick up on, especially from the parents and all the struggles of like look at Angelica's mom. She definitely wasn't a homebody. She was the one running the office and
Successful businesswoman.
in charge of and struggled actually to take care of her kid.
Right, and where her husband was more the kind of the homebody.
Yeah.
You know, that really reshaped gender roles in society. You know, we were always kind of programmed from, you know, the United States has kind of really been a patriarch type of society. And, you know, women equality in the workplace really didn't start becoming a thing until about the 90s.
Yeah.
Yes, post World War II, women started to actually, you know, go into work, you know, in jobs besides being secretaries and type of field hands. They had, you know, actual, you know, substantial jobs where they were equal to the men, but they weren't getting paid the same. And those issues of not just leading women figures, but also equal pay really started to popularize around that time. Nickelodeon, you have these shows on Nickelodeon that were pushing a type of more egalitarian agenda.
I mean, we're still working towards that today. So
We got a long ways, but those type of, you know, you have those type of issues that I brought up, and it made, you know, we're trying to reshape what we were so used to. You know, having like leading a female figure, like we were saying, and the man at home.
yeah. I mean, think about all the parents in Rugrats. They all had like pretty non-traditional sort of jobs. I mean,
yeah.
Stu, who else? I forgot Phil and Lil's parents' names. That escaped me. But she wasn't even the traditional mom. She was super sporty and athletic.
No, I agree with that. And we already mentioned Hey Arnold.
And another thing that we have to discuss about Rugrats, I think first like openly interracial couple between Chucky's dad and his stepmom.
Yeah. Yeah. No, all right. She was Asian.
She was also an immigrant. She was from Japan.
Right. I mean, all these types of shows, you know, as you saw with Doug, you know, Skeeter and Doug. Skeeter was, even though they didn't color him, he was black.
Yeah. I mean,
But
green and black.
best friends. You know, as we said in Hey Arnold, you know, Arnold and Gerald, black and black and white.
Yeah.
It was making it not just tolerable but acceptable. Alan said his favorite show was Rugrats. Was that just your animated or overall favorite show?
It was definitely one of my favorite animated. I think one of the shows that I still love to this day. Two of them, Saved by the Bell.
That's a good one.
And quick segue, what happened to cool intro themes? Because Saved by the Bell, Rugrats, They all had great ones.
Dog. I think Edgar Beaver's had an underrated
Yeah.
theme too. I mean,
We all kind of just
Hey,
skip that now.
I mean, it just jumps to it. The attention span, which we'll get to, attention span is shorter, I guess. People don't have that. They don't appreciate the finer things and the littler things.
Oh, and of course, one of my favorite shows of all time, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Nick at Night,
Woo!
of course. I mean, that's solid. I mean, and the Nick at Night blocks. Didn't they used to even recycle some Happy Days?
Happy Days was great shit too. I Love Lucy.
On Nick at Night, they recycled a lot of great shows there that also promoted various progressive types of themes. And I don't mean progressive as in a type of left versus right wing label. I'm talking about forward thinking from a societal level, where again, like we were talking about with female equality, those shows made that acceptable. Diversity made it acceptable.
One of the things that whether you're, we do get into politics here and there in the show, but I think one of the most important things that we could take away from any of those shows is, conservative, liberal, we should all be moving towards a level of progress.
Right. We need to, only way to keep the, human civilization alive, humanity alive, we need to keep advancing. But from a social standpoint, these shows really left a mark in those various areas. My personal favorite show, regardless of animated or not, Kenan and Kel. Kenan and Kel. And what's particular about that show was that in a kids segment, the kids block, it was one of the very first shows to promote 2 black leads.
Yes.
And it was one of their most successful, which proves if from a young age, it proves that racism, the bigger theme, you learn to hate as you learn to love. Nelson Mandela said something similar. People can learn these things. If you're showing enough people, from all different backgrounds.
I mean, there have been studies on it to this day of when you expose kids to more people of different ethnicities, the less likely they are to stigmatize them because they're just a part of their life.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
And again, towards Kenan and Kel. Kenan and Kel also had one of the best catch lines that we're gonna have to do, because who loves orange soda?
I do.
Oh. Shit was good.
I mean, you have all these phenomenal shows like that.
And quick note, Kenan and Kel also were very educated. Even though Kel acted dumb as fuck most of the time, if he's tested out of the water when it came to intelligence IQ tests.
He was brilliant, but didn't want to be known as brilliant because he thought, he would be stigmatized for being nerdy.
Which I'm sure, as I can experience, and I'm sure a lot of people of color, especially black kids who are nerdy, you kind of get into a stigma that being educated isn't as cool as it should be. I'm hoping that there's a change in that perspective, but I know it wasn't always that great when I was in school.
Right. And, going back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith's character, Will, he also was extremely intelligent.
A little bit, definitely a slacker.
But yeah, because, there was a stigma there, but he had, that's another show that was pushing that regardless of ethnicity, national origin, creed, religion, whatever your philosophy.
Family Matters. Forgot about that. Holy shit.
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, Family Matters for sure. I mean, there's so many of them, but since we were kids, we got to get these on the kids blocks too, because these were like grown-up shows.
Yeah.
These were on the kids blocks, and we were privy to that at such an early age that it shaped our outlook. I'm not saying without those shows, I wouldn't have been, I guess, as progressive thinking today, but they definitely did aid in my education and aid in the way I view the world today. And I think not just me, but fellow other 90s kids. You know, you see, which you can even make the connection. They say by each generation, it's starting to go, you know, a little more acceptance, a little more compassion, more unity. And that's because that's the programming. You know, we had that, not just the Family Matters or Fresh Prince, which were on like Nick at Night, but in the children's programming, like Keenan and Kel, and all of that, with a very diverse cast as well.
I mean, it was a point where there's like, after those shows ended, when it came to sitcom television, there was a void when it came to family sitcoms. And I think what helped bring it back, and also because of its diversity and its ability to attract different age groups, is Modern Family. Modern Family took a lot of what used to be, amplified it, made it better. They took away that annoying fucking laugh track that's in almost every fucking show. And it's great comedy, but it comes from the place of just having differences between family. And you guys work it out.
Come on, Coach. You gotta take that kid out. You wanna take him out? How about I take you out?
Honey.
Why don't you worry about your son? He spent the first half with his hand in his pants.
Another great show is Fresh Off the Boat and Blackish. All come from the same vein of the past before, and they've really made an impact on today's kids. As far as if I were to have kids, these are the shows I'd want them to watch.
Yeah. Now, what was that show with Tim Allen, Home Improvement?
Yeah.
That was another good one too, Home Improvement. But not to get too far out there, you know, all these shows really, you know, impacted us for various reasons. But just to get down to the very bottom line, they were just fucking more enjoyable. They were just much more entertaining. The shows today, what I see, I guess maybe because we're biased, but if I had to...
I wouldn't call it bias if you're right, though.
That's true. Like, what I've noticed in a lot of the shows today, even though they still try to recycle those themes, just the way they do it, it really loses the viewer. It's not as engrossing, and the themes are not, I wouldn't say as applicable, but they're not as strongly promoted. You know, that some episodes are just randomly goofy. They're you know, it's just random action. You know, silly gags, slow level.
Let me help you out. They're lame. They are fucking lame. And this is not me being biased. I've got a chance to like sit down and take a Friday off or Saturday off and watch some of these shows, and they're just not as funny. I mean, look at even, god damn it, I don't even know why Cartoon Network has Teen Titans Go. It's the most ridiculous, annoying show ever.
Which, on the next episode, we're going to talk about the golden years, reliving golden years of Cartoon Network. Because they also, in the 90s, they were just as...
I remember when Cartoon Network became a channel. That was a whole day event for me. I was like, what?
Was that like the mid-80s? Early
No,
80s?
that was 90s.
It was early 90s?
Yeah, early 90s. That's when it started to become a channel. I mean, all they had
Nickelodeon was the early 80s. Yeah, or late 70s. Yeah, but I know Nickelodeon has some years. But yeah, I mean, Cartoon Network also had some golden years too.
Yeah,
but
Powerpuff Girls, man.
I'm excited too. I want to jump into it as well. But yeah, guys, you let us know what your favorite shows, you know, are or were. I'm glad they have shows like Boomerang to kind of bring it back or something like that.
Thank God for the advent of the internet. We could just download half this shit and watch it on Netflix.
Teen Nick, they have like those, or Nick Jr. They have like all those other shows, other channels to really bring back retro shows. Oh, you know what we just forgot before we tune out, guys? Legend of the Hidden Temple,
which is coming back.
Oh, I know. Yes, I forgot. That and Hey Arnold, they're bringing it back. So we get to relive our childhood again. Can't believe we forgot though. All those game shows too, like Double Dare, Slides. You know,
yeah.
I mean, how did we forget that?
But that just shows you how good some of these things were. That they ran out. Think about it. They ran out of ideas and said, "Fuck it, let's just bring the shows that were good back."
They were just so highly rated. You know, there's no denying it. But yeah, guys, like I was saying before, let us know in the comments below what your favorite shows are, if you happen to, kind of go back in the time machine, have some nostalgia, and, give us some other recommendations for other shows to watch if we haven't,
I'm always open to see some new shows.
from like the 90s that we didn't see.
Even some modern ones now. There've been like a few that I've heard have garnered some fandom. So you never know. We still have to give the new generation a chance. They may suck now, but they have time to grow and become better.
Won't be as great as us, though.
No.
Won't be as great as us. But anyway, guys, I'm your host, Jesse Fetter,
And I'm Alan Mullane.
and we are Instant Transmitting Out.
Oh, here it goes. Everybody out there, go run and tell your homeboys and homegirls it's time for Keenan and Kel. To keep you laughing in the afternoon, so don't touch that dial on read the room. Cause they always in the summer, no frontin' and you don't wanna miss it. It's double K like do the good way. Yes, Keenan and Kel, I should've say Kel and Keenan. And you gotta watch Keenan cause Keenan be scheming with a plan or a plot to make it to the top. But they kinda in the middle cause they always getting caught. This ain't the Hardy Boys or a Nancy Drew mystery. It's just Keenan and Kel in your vicinity like Siegfried and Roy or Abbott and Costello, Magic and Kareem or Penn and Teller. Somebody's in trouble. Oh, here it go. Oh, Nick.